The quest for answers is a long, winding, mysterious, and often exciting path. This is Skull Babylon, and you are on the adventure with us right now as you get ready to listen to the July 28th episode of Paradigm Shift Radio, the new interactive show to assist in the evolution of consciousness. On today's show, the main topic of interest was UFOs. Before we got to that point, though, we covered our regular Paradigm Shift community news and welcomed Jordan from Paradigm Shift Barry onto the show to talk about how things are unfolding in his area. From there, we get into the UFO topic, riding on the tail of the most recent UFO sighting which happened during the Olympic opening ceremony. UFO or Goodyear blimp? Let the speculation begin. Mid-show, we took our break to do our regular group meditation to send some good vibes towards the Olympics. We wrapped up the show with me sharing my very own close encounter with the UFO that I had in my city of London, Ontario, Canada, and Michael, our other co-host, shares a story of his own. This will not be the last time we talk about UFOs on the show, and we always want to hear from you, the people in the community, about the stories and experiences that you've had. So be sure to interact with us live again next week when we will probably be talking a bit more about UFOs, plus all sorts of exciting, informative, and educational conversation topics. If you have not yet, be sure to follow PSR on Facebook to stay in the loop. Things are just getting started and there's still plenty of adventure ahead. Thank you again for listening and enjoy the show.
Hello out there in the blog talkosphere. Welcome once again to another episode of Paradigm Shift Radio, our connection and expansion into the process of consciousness and evolution. Skull Babylon, are you there?
I am here.
Hey. Well, we're all still here, despite all the craziness that's been going on. And I'm your other host, Mike Brazel. We're hanging out tonight. We're going to be talking about some pretty interesting stuff. So we'll let the room, this is great. The chat room is really filling up tonight, so shout out to everyone out there in the chat. There were people on 15 minutes before we even came on air. So, we appreciate you guys. If you haven't shared the show on your Facebooks, your Tumblrs, your Twitters, get your family in the room, invite your friends over. If you haven't done that yet, you have a little bit of time before we get into the meat of our discussion, so be sure you're sharing this all over the interwebs and everything else. So bring everyone to the discussion tonight.
Mm-hmm. And just a reminder, guys, right now I am just putting up some links on the Facebook page and everything to help get the word out there, because the first few minutes of the show is always going to be just a little bit of buffer time where me and Mike are just going to chit-chat and just to remind you guys to help tell your friends about what's happening here on the show, because the more people we have involved, the more we all learn, because that's kind of the whole collective 100 monkey effect that we got going on, right? So we're trying to reach that critical mass.
100 monkeys, that's right.
We are the 100 monkeys.
We are the 100th monkeys, and if you're lucky, you could be the 101th monkey. And it's a lot of fun stuff going on in the world today, folks. There's lots of stuff to talk about, but we also want to hear what you all want to talk about. So if there's things that you want to see brought up on the show, because this is one of those collective experiences, so be sure emailing us. If you do have questions tonight when we start getting into the topics, just to kind of put this out there right away, be sure you send us a private message so we have your question up on our screens, because I can already tell the chat room is going to get really busy. Those of you who are just signed in as guests, it doesn't take long to actually set up a Blog Talk account so that you can actually interact on the chat, and then you can also call into the show tonight, 347-326-9263, to actually engage in the conversation with us on air. So is there anything going on? You just had another one of your events in London, right, Skull?
To call it an event, I don't even really call it an event. An event is more something that I think of for, festival, special guest presentations. What we do on a regular basis. For those it's gathering. It's a community social event. It is an event. But for those who, again, may be new to this whole thing and may not really be familiar with who myself and Michael are, both of us are part of a sort of a new thing that's happening here, and basically those are Paradigm Shift communities. And Paradigm Shift communities, along with being the online interaction which we get through our radio show and through their Facebooks and everything, there's also the physical side of the communities, which means bringing people out into from your local community into places of gathering where they can just have conversation and help practice talking about some of the things that we don't usually get a chance to talk about. So, for example, tonight, I think one of the big topics we're going to be talking about is UFOs. So.
Yeah, the motherships that are circling above right now. So that's one of those topics that can go in like a lot of directions, but it's just so interesting that, of all the topics that's just been around like spanning decades, this has been one of the ones I think that, never grows cold, these conversations with UFOs and then ETs, and then of course, there's so much attached to the things like the Olympics and even some of the bigger tragedies now. Once the dust settles from initial tragedies, you start seeing all this other stuff come up. So, if there's stuff going on globally too, even within your own communities that you all want to talk about, and just, be sure you're interacting with each other in the chat room. So be sure that you're out there, you're talking to one another, and then go out and create community in your space. Create gatherings like the one in London. We're getting some stuff started here in DC. I had an event yesterday, and we did I do a channeling session. It was a really great gathering, and it was a really powerful interaction. We started to do more community-centered stuff here, and it's great to have these online communities. But remember, the second part of that is actually going out and having a tangible human experience and actually having these discussions. And have discussions on your Facebook walls and all of those kinds of things. But also be sure you're having them within your communities and go out and be part of that experience. So just, share it. Get it out there. And if you have stuff like you want to talk about, you can email me at michael@michaelbrazel.com, or you can just send it to our Facebook pages or any of the post them on the Paradigm Shift Radio. We'll post all the links in the chat so you have them all, because there's so many. There's like quite a few different links. So we'll post all those in the chats. And then Skull, how are things going with you and the Spirit Science channel?
Good, man. I think one thing that's worth just announcing for those who are going to be listening to this show in the future and those who are listening to it now, there is going to be a new episode of Spirit Science going up on Monday. So Jordan officially made a post about that. So that's something that everyone can look forward to, because anyone who's seen like the work that the Spirit Science team has done with their animations and the style of education that Jordan has knows that it's always worthwhile. So that's something to be excited about. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't actually know what the topic is. Actually, I think it may be chakras. I think I think it's a topic about chakras. But yeah, that will be something to check out. So if you're not on the Spirit Science Facebook, type in the Spirit Science, facebook.com/the Spirit Science, and join their page. But I think there's probably quite a few people here who are in the chat who are going to be from Spirit Science. So just if you've heard about this show through Spirit Science just recently, just give a little wave in the chat, or just say like, oh yeah, Spirit Science rocks, yeah. But just a couple more websites, guys, for those who are listening. Relating back to the paradigm shift thing, because like paradigm shift is not Spirit Science. Some people may get confused about that. They think it's like a project of Spirit Science. Paradigm shift is just something that's happening parallel alongside the whole vibe of Spirit Science, in the sense of like trying to get people more aware and everything. So for those who want to find out more about Paradigm Shift, go to facebook.com/Paradigm Shift Central. That's kind of like the main hub that we're using as a media center. There's a there's a YouTube channel through that, youtube.com/Paradigm Shift Central, and that's basically a place where we're trying to keep a central hub organized to help connect the different paradigm shift communities that exist currently and the ones that are emerging. So there's some notes and some graphics on there that I've written up to share with you guys, some like tips on how to get the community started in your area, because it's really not something hard to do. It really just takes kind of like finding a place to have a physical meeting, so that can be like going to a library or anything. And I know that we do have, I'm just looking in the chat, we do have Jordan from Paradigm Shift Barry, who's with us in the chat right now. Jordan, obviously you're listening to this. If you would like to call in, do so as soon as you can, and then we'll sort of just get a little bit of, hear how things are going from the Paradigm Shift Barry end of things, and then we'll move into our actual UFO topic, or maybe we'll sort of jump off it from there. Because actually I know Jordan's got a few UFO stories of his own that he could probably share. So Jordan, give us a call in the meantime. And for those who are listening, go to, as well, you can go to ParadigmShiftCentral.com. That's the new web address domain that I have purchased, but it's currently going to link you into ParadigmShiftLondon.com. That's like the Paradigm Shift community that I'm associated with, Michael is associated with Paradigm Shift DC. So check out ParadigmShiftLondon.com. That's got links to the PSR on there, the Paradigm Shift Radio archives, so you can listen to some of the old shows if you haven't had a chance to yet. This is episode 6. So we're still in beta phase right now, guys, and it's going really well, I must say. Like, just to give you a sense of numbers, because again, I want you guys to be aware of where we stand in the sense of like reaching out to a larger community. Mike, correct me on this, but let's see. Going back to around episode 3 with Teal, that was sitting around like 400 live listeners, and then we had a bunch of downloads from that. And then after that, it was around like 250-ish, and then the last show was around like 200, and that was without a guest. So, I mean, just to give you guys an idea, like that's sort of where we're at. But for a live show, like that's pretty phenomenal considering we've just gotten started. And a lot of that is because you guys are telling your friends about this. So please continue to do that, because a big part of this is involvement of the community. So as a reminder, we want to hear from you guys tonight. There isn't a guest on the show, so we want people calling into the show. So if you have UFO experiences of your own or just some sort of insight, we want to hear about it. So you can call in through Skype, through Blog Talk Radio, or you can call in with a regular phone at 347-326-9263. That's 347-326-9263. So
I feel like we're doing a telethon almost. You know?
Well, I was trying to tell you what I did.
We're taking your donations at 347-326. Yeah.
Well, we are taking donations too.
We are. So tell them a little bit about the donations if they want to make a donation.
This is just sort of news. You may hear this at the beginning of every show, but we are looking for donations in the sense of just helping things get going and to help add to the fund of what will eventually be something to support Paradigm Shift communities across the entire grid. And to do that, go to Paradigm Shift London or ParadigmShiftCentral.com. Either one, it's the same website address, and there's a donate button on the side, or ParadigmShiftCentral.com/donate. Feel free to donate. And again, just to give you guys an idea of where we are in sense of donations, because I don't really want to keep anything hidden from you. Let's have some transparency here. So far, since I've been asking for donations, we've had a total of, drum roll please, about $30 worth of donations. So hey, like that's something. I'm not complaining. That's pretty much just going to be sitting there. I'm not going to be spending that money anytime soon. Like, it's not my money, first of all. It's our money. But it's just going to be sitting there and accumulating over time. Like, I want to have, like, a good chunk of money before we actually start sharing it with people in the community. But, again, you guys are totally welcome to donate, and it does help. It's something that's going to definitely help things, like, unfold more in the future, because space cash is just a tool. Some people are kind of like, don't give into money. Money's a bad thing. Don't even ask for money. There's karma related to that. But it's just a tool. So if we can use it to create new things to help other people, then why not, right? So that's great thing to do.
Yeah, and just remember, every time you donate to Paradigm Shift, a baby alien gets a starship. So we want the baby aliens to have starships, and that's really important. So be sure that you are donating. And it really does go to help keep these things alive. We want to do the button programs and things where we're able to have communities actually make flyers to get out and do buttons, so we can have the domain names, the websites running. And the whole thing, the idea behind this is have this whole thing be self-sustaining, so they can just be active, be alive, and just to support all of you who are also coming into this who may not have the resources to do things like buttons and posters for your area. But remember, you don't need to have all that stuff to start. The idea is just to get into a place where you're having discussions, tap into spiritual communities that might already be present. And if there aren't any, because that's the one thing I hear a lot of people talk about more than anything else is, well, I don't have anything in my area. Well, guess what? You're that person that gets to go out and start something in your area. And it doesn't have to be massive. It can just be you and a few people who may share a common interest. And even if you don't share a common interest, that's even better, because you get to have dialogue where the idea with these things is we're not all going to agree on something. And I think that's pretty evident with some of the discussion we'll have tonight, is that we don't all have to agree about how the things are going to work out. We might have differing views, and that's great because it allows us to have dialogue and discussion. So it's really important to go out and do those things, though. So the number to call in tonight, 347-326-9263. A couple of you have questions on the Skype. There's a little button right next to the show on the show page. If you click the Skype button to call in, it'll bring you right into the queue. And then we'll see you pop up on the screen here. It allows me to access you and bring you into the queue. So it just prompts, once you click on the Skype button, it should be pretty easy just to take you into that process.
And just again, while we're sort of waiting for, I think Jordan is going to try and call in. So just sort of let me know when he's in the queue once he gets that sorted out. And Jordan, if you have questions, just PM us or whatever, or anyone else in the live chat. And I just wanted to mention in terms of like paradigm shift communities to let you guys know what sort of new communities have popped up. One of the most recent ones is one in Australia. So it's in Victoria, Australia. So that's pretty cool, you know. Like that, I think Australia is a very spiritual place in itself. There's a lot of talk about like, you know, just the indigenous culture there and how like a lot of the energies are sort of like occurring there first in some way. I've sort of read that just it's because of where it is in the world, like. In sense of shift, like a lot of energies sort of like will hit Australia first before they sort of move over to where we are, if that makes sense. But yeah, congratulations to the Paradigm Shift community in Australia that's getting started. So if anybody's in Australia and looking to hook up with other people, go to Paradigm Shift Central, or rather Facebook.com/Paradigm Shift Central. That's the group there, and you'll be able to hook up with them. You can find the other Paradigm Shift communities through the likes on the page. And another thing, through the Paradigm Shift Central, what we're doing, YouTube.com/Paradigm Shift Central is a media hub that I put together to feature videos created by people like us who are trying to share our voice and encourage other people and inspire other people. So if you go to YouTube.com/Paradigm Shift Central, you'll see there's a selection of playlists that I've put together from a variety of people who I have known about for a while. One of them being Jordan from Paradigm Shift Barry, and a slew of other people and people who I'm finding out about as we go along. And it's just a central place to feature their videos and to have as a place where we can go and look at as an archive to sort of see where we've been and where we're going, and to help inspire us to like go even further beyond that. So that's just another project that has recently launched since the last episode. I know I did mention it then. So that's Paradigm Shift Metavision is kind of like the name behind the YouTube channel. So pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, so we have lots of stuff that's happening. Become engaged as possible. Get out there and, you know, start your own things. And if you do, let us know, because we definitely want to share that information. If you have events that are upcoming, things that you are hosting in your area, or things that you think others who tune in this show may want to participate in, let us know too. We have no problem sharing. This is more of a resource channel than just us talking, and we want to be sure that we're sharing and getting information out about your events. So just let us know, because this whole first part of the show is just us really going through some, you know, just some dialogue, and then if there are things we're hosting or you all are hosting. Another thing too, utilize the Facebook groups. You know, and join the multiple groups, because one of the things I want to see more of, and we said it, but it seems that it's usually us initiating it. Go on and have discussions on the Facebook pages. You know, if there's something going on, something you want to talk about, whether it be meditation, don't wait for one of the page hosts to actually start posting those discussions. Go on and have those dialogues. Feel free to post on those pages. That's what they're there for. We don't want them just to sit and collect, you know, internet dust. You know, go on there, have discussions, have dialogue, and every now and then we'll pop on and try to create some of that. But the idea is we want you all to be as interactive as you are in this chat room. I love watching this chat, because this chat is one of the most interactive chats that I get to see all the different shows that are on this channel, and this is one of the most interactive chats. So that's always great. And another thing too, talking about numbers, the downloads for this show are phenomenal. Our last show got over, we're at 300 downloads now for the last show. So the shows are actually getting downloaded more than they're being listened to, which is great, because you get to go back, experience the show, sit with the information. You know, even if you listen to it live, go back and sit with it, so you can actually, you know, take in some more of the information that may have been discussed, and then create dialogue and discussion. And then if there's something from the show that you want to discuss further, take it to the Facebook pages. You know, don't be afraid to be a voice and to talk about something. We want to see interaction. That's the whole thing about community, is there has to be some of that movement happening within these spaces. So don't be afraid to call in. Don't be afraid to interact and have a voice. This is the perfect place to do that.
Yeah, and one thing I just want to add, guys, don't be discouraged if you feel that you're not getting the response that you would hope for or that you desire, because that's kind of just like how it works when you're dealing with a lot of these subjects. Like, I saw an interesting picture my friend posted on Facebook, and it was basically like a cartoon, sort of using like characters, but there's like, in one frame, there's one guy, and he like makes a post about like important political issues and like changing the world and everything, and then it like shows like a Facebook thing with like 1 like, and then it goes to another frame, and then there's like a girl and she puts up a post and it's like, I went shopping, LOL, and then there's like 4,000 likes, 20 million comments and stuff, right? So I mean, that's sort of like the juxtaposition that just sort of shows like a bit of the ratio and the mindset of where a lot of the culture is. But that doesn't mean that what we're trying to do, what you're trying to do, is any less important. I can tell you firsthand from the experience that I had with launching Paradigm Shift London back in like my college in 2009, 2010, there were times where I would set up meetings and no one would show up. Like maybe sometimes it would just be me, but sometimes it would be me and just like one other person. But I didn't take that personally, and it didn't stop me from moving forward, because like even if it was just with one other person, that conversation I still had was equally important. So if you're starting the Paradigm Shift communities in your area and the first meeting that you have, maybe there's only a couple people, like don't take it personally. Just keep moving forward. Keep that door open, because I guarantee you that there's always going to be people who hear about these things, hear about what you're doing, and want to come out, but for some reason or another, the universe just isn't making that alignment so they're able to come out. But when they are able to come out, they're really going to appreciate the fact that you've kept that door open for them. So that's all you have to do. Just keep that door open, and people will come when the time is right.
And sometimes that's the test. I found, because I've started several different meditation and spiritual groups here in DC where we just kind of meet up and we will talk about different things. And sometimes when I first was starting especially, it was just me. And that's really the test with all this stuff. Whenever you're trying to start something, are you willing to show up? Regardless if one other person shows up or if no one shows up. If no one shows up, that just gave me a time to sit there with my own space and to, have dialogue with myself. We forget that sometimes. Sometimes we feel we have to only talk about these things with others. Sometimes we need space for meditation. We need space to connect to ourselves. But the hardest part about anything like this, or even anything within spirituality, is just showing up. That's one of the hardest parts. But if you show up and you keep staying true to just being part of that experience for yourself, others will come. They always do. And now the groups that I host here, we have in the upwards of 30 to 40 people. Sometimes it'll show up to an event. And sometimes it's still just we have 2 or 3 people. And everything is of value. If a small group comes together, that's just as powerful as a big group that comes together, because it's just about getting it together, and having that experience of sharing and being able to talk, and just seeing that you're not alone in that process. So if there isn't something, go out and start something. If there is something, join it and become part of that process, and help keep this show growing by sharing it on your pages and things, because we definitely appreciate that.
We do, guys. Yeah, we definitely do appreciate you. And even once, for those who are listening or maybe new to this, we always have the shows posted up on YouTube. I put up a YouTube thing with like embedded annotations, so it makes it easier for your listening pleasure to sort of browse through the content. So like what Mike was saying earlier, in addition to the downloads through the blog talk, there's also like the amount of hits that we get through the YouTube. So I mean, like with that, like we're bringing in decent numbers, guys. But don't let numbers be the determining factor on how we judge the show's success. Like the show's success is judged on content and discussion and everything, and we're always looking to improve it. So we always want to get your input and your feedback and suggestions that you might have on either topics or just things that you think we could maybe improve on. So that said, I know Jordan's trying to call in right now. Do we have him in the queue?
Yeah, he just popped into the queue.
You found the one button? Okay, good.
Yeah, I keep forgetting, but we always have the 11:11 minute that happens on our show, and I keep every time I'm like, oh crap, let me like do something for 11:11. I'm like, crap, it's already 11:23. So we missed it. But anyway, let's go ahead and bring Jordan on right here.
All right.
Quick here. Jordan, are you there?
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, dude.
Hey. Can you hear me all right?
You're breaking up a little bit.
It's probably just easing
Yeah.
Try now, Jordan. Just tell them who you are.
Hello, from Paradigm Shift Barrie and many other places.
There we go.
Yeah. Can you hear me right?
It's still a bit choppy, is it, Mike?
Yeah, it's still pretty choppy.
It's a bit choppy on your end.
Yeah.
Is there a technical issue that could be resolved here?
It would have to be on his end. It may be a matter of like refreshing, or it just sounds like there's just it could be a bad internet connection,
or like maybe too many windows open or something.
Yeah.
All right, Jordan, do you want to try calling in on a phone? Like, can you do that? Because I mean, I'd prefer people to be able to hear you. So. Jordan?
I may have lost him.
Oh, okay.
So maybe the UFO got him, you know. And if anyone out there, I mean, because like
maybe he just got abducted. Like that's
he just got abducted.
Just
maybe
right
bring
now,
back
live on air.
some good stories, you know. And if anyone out there has had those experiences, now understand this opens the door for a lot of talk. And so we want you to call in with your experiences, but you know, if you're going to call in, we do want to keep the show, you know, somewhat centered on if you've had an experience, call in and share. Don't make up an experience and call in and share that. All right, we want to be sure that, you know, if you had an experience, I mean, sometimes stuff is made up, but if you're purposely calling in with some wild times, then be ready for the discussion that ensues. And we're not doing baby mama questions tonight, so I do see some folks who do some crossovers. You know, if we do, I'll let Skull handle those questions.
Totally, yeah. Like,
yeah, we have Jordan. We'll try to
venture into new territory. Okay, Jordan calling in with a radio phone. Let's see what we got.
All right, let's try it. So, Jordan, are you there? Hello. Man, I think they got him.
Oh.
Oh, that's okay.
All right. Headphones in.
I had to kill it. So we dropped again. So, all right, we'll try one more time. Third time's always a charm, and this is Mercury retrograde. We're still in the retrograde phases of all these crazy planets and stuff. So that always means that communication is going to be issues, and I think we're out of it next week. So now, hopefully.
What is Mercury retrograde? Like, I mean, I'm kind of familiar with it, but I want to hear you explain it, because you've said that 3 times, like, in the past shows. So
so the idea of Mercury retrograde is Mercury is one of the planets that controls communication. So when planets go retrograde, it kind of throws things into a reverse patterning. So when communication is going well, when we start moving backwards, things, of course, are going to be off balance. Also, things with showing up on time, timelines, get things done. Mercury retrograde is never a good time to start something brand new, because things are coming in from discordance versus alignment. So the idea with Mercury retrograde is if there's projects you're working on, continue on those. And if you are dealing with time-sensitive items or communication, like now during the shows, I'm trying to get on at least 30 minutes before time to be sure all the technology works, because I know that sometimes, you know, the technology itself won't respond well just because of, you know, we've had high energy guests on, so it does show that these things do play into an effect on how we connect in. But, you know, even with some of us, we don't necessarily connect into it fully, but there are people around us who do play into some of the astrological things. So just be aware that there are certain things astrologically that happen. Everyone knows, you know, the full moon, when things happen on full moon, things can get a little wacky. But there are also planets that constantly go reverse, and Mercury is one of those that is constantly going retrograde, constantly wreaking havoc on communication specifically, but also time-sensitive items. So just be aware, be kind to those who may not be able to meet those expectations. But, you know, just repeat things to people who don't necessarily absorb information well, or if you know that something is time sensitive, give yourself a little extra time, like the show and things that may be more sensitive. So just be sure you're planning some of that discordance into these events. So it can be a little nuts.
Zachary said, just in the chat, just reading the live chat here, saying like that's the female energy affecting us. So I think, I think that's part of it, right? We're sort of like swinging out of like the male into the female. So yeah, there's a lot of transitioning going on. But enough of that for now. Can we see if we got Jordan on the air? I think he's trying to call in right now.
Let's see.
Okay, he's calling now.
Is he calling in? Do you have him on private message?
Yeah, I'm talking to him right now on Facebook.
Area code is, because I have a lot of people in the queue.
Oh, okay. Jordan, what is your area code?
Yeah, what's your
Isn't this great, guys? You get to like listen to us like figuring stuff out. Like this isn't even interesting. This is us just trying to like get someone on air and everything. But anyways. It's just ramping up. This is like the anticipation before the drop, like any good like song or something, you know. It's that anticipation that makes the drop really worth it. Take that metaphor and apply it to like anything, and you'll understand what I'm saying. So, if you didn't have the anticipation, then whatever. It's just another drop. It's the anticipation that makes the drop worth it. So, all right, do we got him on?
What's his area code?
Oh wait, okay. Well, he hasn't. Oh, jeez, he hasn't answered me yet.
All right, keep talking. I'm go into the.
Should we just bring someone else on?
Try the screening room. So you talk, and I'm going to see if I can do this without.
Okay, sure. All right. Okay, so it's just going to be me for a second, right?
For a second. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. Yeah, guys. I mean, thanks for listening to the show and being who you are and doing what you do. And shout out to some of the people in the live chat right now. We have Zachary Reynolds, who is with us, Chainlink, White Snake, Stephanie P, Karen, Jordan, who's trying to call in right now, Jovi, Jake, and a whole bunch of guests, as well as up at the top we got Johnny, Gabriel, Explosion in the Sky, Dog, Bark, Daniel, Christian, Cosmic Rebirth, Bobby, Ashlyn, Antoine, and that's about everyone right now. But for some of the guests, feel free to create a user account and create a login, add a username to you so we can help identify who you are, so I can give you a shout out on the next one. But I think we got Jordan live on the air right now.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
Yeah. Here we go. All right.
Here we go.
No more stop. This better be a great conversation because we've been building up. Here we go. All right, Jordan. Hello.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, dude.
Hello.
Welcome to the show.
Wow, nice song. Oh my gosh, it's so awesome. Right on.
This is good enough.
How are you guys doing out there?
I think we're doing pretty good, man. This is just working through the glitches. But thank you for being on the show. To introduce Jordan to everyone who's listening, Jordan is one of the facilitators for Paradigm Shift Barry. So he's been posting up YouTube videos. Me and him got linked up in the past a while ago, probably over a year ago. His YouTube channel is The Riff Shaman. And Barry is a place just north of where London, Ontario is. And he's been doing some really great work up there. And there's really some interesting stuff happening up in Barry. So Jordan, maybe just fill us in, how's the Paradigm Shift Barry been going?
Oh, it's been doing pretty good. We've had about 6 or 7 meetings now, and the last one had about 8 or 9 people there, I think, and just growing, and we're going to be having it at a really, really awesome space starting next Tuesday, the 31st, and it's going to be at the Waterview space in downtown Barrie, which is an amazing space where a lady named Jackie Durbecker, who is actually a channel for the Abraham, where she does her sessions and readings and channeling sessions. So it's going to be pretty amazing. There's amazing energy there, and we're going to be doing some energy work and meditation and having great conversations like always. And it's a really, really good time, and I'm really enjoying it so far. It's great.
Well, that's cool, man. I'm glad you got the ball rolling on that, because there's definitely a good community in Barrie. I think you guys even just thinking about the landscape, the topography of where you are. There's a lot of forest, and I know there's just a natural connection to nature there and everything. So I think you guys are definitely gonna be able to expand in a lot of ways. So congrats on doing what you're doing so far. So. Anything else that you want to share with us? Because I'm curious. We could sort of segue this really quickly into the whole UFO thing, considering we only have about an hour left in the show. So let's make the most of it, I think, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'll just streamline through a few things and let it sort of lead on in that direction. Well, basically, I've been doing a lot of work in Barrie with an organization, a not-for-profit organization called Back to Basics Social Developments. And we've been doing a lot of building community gardens in various areas, and a big one across the street from Unity Market, which is kind of a local hub for positive change and organic gardening and farming and just all sorts of sustainable initiatives. And we have a basis, and the organization is sort of laying a foundation to do some funding work and to get support for permaculture gardening in the city and building affordable, sustainable housing and getting food like water, clothing, shelter to everyone possible that needs it, which is back to basic social development. So that's what we're all about, getting the basics for human beings, getting the foundation laid so that people can continue to develop and grow and find their passions and more basically striving to create conscious community, which is really awesome because that's what I'm all about. And I've started my own sort of I don't like the word business pretty much, but my own practice named Conscious Alchemy, which is the intuitive healing work that I do, and various forms of energy, body activation, and light language and various forms of intuitive healing techniques, and as well as just counseling and empowerment and, transformational sessions for people to help them, give them a boost in their, journey and evolution in this time and space. And, I've just been doing that as well as, various other, energy work, striving to network with healers in this area, but as well as, across the world and in the, semi-local community in Ontario, which is why I love Paradigm Shift. It's connecting amazing networks of people together that really need to be connected because, the frequencies and vibrations that we are emitting when we start interacting, it is exponentially increasing the speed and the intensity of our evolution and our expansion, the activation of the multi-dimensional aspects of our being. So it's amazing to see us start connecting and learning and sharing and just working together on that level, which when we connect at that higher level as a community, then that is really the strongest foundation we can have, the foundation in the source of our being. So if we can create especially a youth initiated and oriented community that is awake and aware and inspired to know what's going on and be able to change things and inspire people, even the older generations. It's such an amazing thing to have. It's one of the most important things on this planet right now, because with the internet and how we're all connecting at a faster and faster pace and more intricately, we can affect global change quickly. So it's a matter of, getting the right people together with the right passions and the right skills and sort of, inspiring each other and teaching each other and balancing each other so that we can create more and more amazing things. So that's what I'm pretty much, extremely passionate about, as well as, writing poetry and, creating and anchoring down these transformative frequencies into, music and just song and dance and drum and intuitive movement, which is another thing I'm into, similar to Tai Chi and Qigong, but the intuitive forms of inner alchemy, which one can express through movement or sound or silence, whatever you wish.
Very well said. Yeah, it's interesting when you're talking about like how we as a younger generation are actually like inspiring people who may be a generation ahead of us. I know maybe you've had this happen with your community, but I know this is something that happened with Paradigm Shift Muskoka, who's facilitated by our friend Rebecca. She was just telling me about how, like, in one of the meetings she had not too long ago, how it started out as her and a few friends at a local community center, and then, like, halfway through the meeting, these, like, two older women came out, and they're just like, is this the Paradigm Shift meeting? And they're like, yeah, welcome. They're just like, oh, my God, we're so excited to be here. Like, you're the Indigo Kids. You're the future, like straight up, they just get really excited about it, because I think up until recently, they've known about a lot of the people who, have been familiar with this energy for quite a while, have been studying it and practicing it in their own ways, but this is new to them to see the younger generation, such as ourselves, starting to, like, talk about it and live it in our daily lives and do it with courage and not to, like, hide behind anything in the process. So that's a big thing that I agree with too, is that, like, by us doing stuff as a younger generation, it's encouraging the older generations to, like, get re-involved with the whole community side of things. So.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I do find that in Barrie, especially when I started the group, it's only been we've only even had one or two younger people around my age that have come. Most of them have been like around the age of 40 or even above. There's a 60-something-year-old lady, and there's a 50-something or late 40 male, and and a couple other older females. So we're not even I'm the youngest one in the group by far. So it's pretty interesting, and that's basically, what they're saying is that they love to see more of, the youth, and there is, a couple of younger people that come, and they love to see that we're, aware and awake, and we're getting together, because these are the people that, either lived through, the whole transformative age of the 60s, when people, started moving in this direction consciously, and they're so glad to see us, taking this on again, but from a more holistic perspective. And I really find that's what's amazing about the paradigm shift-like conversations and just being together, is that we can get together and integrate together, and not so much be scattered in our ways of being and our ways of perceiving things, but we can really unify towards that source, because we all shine differently, but we all are shining from the same source. So as long as we can have a foundation, which is basically the love and the respect and just that natural, holistic way of living, then we can all just begin to resonate together and understand each other, and it leads to a higher and higher perception and way of being, and it just activates us on so many levels. So I'm glad to see it happening.
I remember when I started the Paradigm Shift community in my college, at that time it was called Paradigm Shift Fanshawe, post Paradigm Shift London. One guy sort of came up to me one time. We were doing like a club day, and we had a table set up, and we were just there sort of making ourselves known within the school. And he came up to me, and he's like, so is this like a 2012 survival group or something? and I sort of, and I'm like, all right, I understand where he's coming from, because like at that time it was around the time when the 2012 movie was like just coming out in theaters, which was like November 2010. So I mean that was a big topic on people's mind and stuff, right? But it was just kind of interesting, because I was like, all right, okay, like I hear what he's saying, but I'm like, you know what? Like, you're not necessarily incorrect by saying that, but I would change it around a bit. Like, I would more say like 2012, like preparation/transition group, because I mean, first of all, like I don't even want to like presume that 2012 is going to be like, like the end of something that is like required for us to survive. I mean, who knows? We'll find out when we get there, sort of thing. But I mean, a lot of it is just support through the community, through like finding balance within each other to help us transition through this whole like energy phase that we're sort of going through. And definitely what you're saying in terms of like acceleration, like with this whole 2012 thing, like this is something I sort of figured out a while ago, is like it's not 2012, and for the people who are listening to this, you've probably like got it like down to some degree too, but 2012 is not a light switch event. Like it's not going to be like 2012 and then everything's different sort of thing. But what is happening is that like what's happening in 2012 started like millions and millions and millions of years ago. Like it's a continuation of this whole like cycle process and like the Yuga cycles and whatever you want to think of it. But like what's particularly interesting is the idea that like where we are right now, we're going through like the fastest acceleration of this process that has like ever taken place. So I mean, like where the progress that sort of like in the past, say in 2005, 2008, like something that might have taken like multiple months to happen then, now can happen within our time frame within like a week or even less than that, and it's just like really exciting, and which is why we need this radio show, so we can like give constant updates on like what's happening like weekly, because every week there's like new stuff that's happening within like the Paradigm Shift community and globally throughout like everyone involved. So
cool. Well, how deep can we get on this radio show?
We go pretty deep. We go pretty deep on this show, and the idea is that this is one of those places that we really want to go as deep as we can with the time that we have. So it's we try to keep it. We try to go through the layers, I guess, and just take it as deep as we can as the conversation unfolds. It's like a lotus, and as it begins that unfolding, we go as deep as we can, and then we bring in stuff from the folks that are in the chats and anything else that we can build on. And we tend to go off on the show. We found it just kind of goes organic. We just start a conversation, and then anything comes from that, and then it just evolves into whatever it's going to become.
That is the way into the new world, indeed. I find that's how the conversations go at my meetings. I'm just thinking I'll throw out a couple, an idea or two I'm having here, and maybe that'll transition us into the extraterrestrial thing if you guys want. Or we can just keep talking organically.
Yeah, let's roll it into like some of this conversation, because we're the top of the hour. We do our little meditation moment, And
right. We'll do that, yeah.
Yeah, so let's just roll it in. Let's start the conversation off, and I know that Skull has been talking about some leap-off points, and then let's just let it roll. Let's see what happens.
Okay, well, I just wanted to, I don't know how many people out there into grid work or, working with vortexes or, working with their energies, but I know that this is a big part of sort of, paradigm shift groups, and, what we've been working towards and doing is being aware of our consciousness, our energy, and the energies around us. And so, I'm just thinking that it would be amazing to see as the different groups form across, different areas, especially the ones closer together, they can work together. There are many areas on the map, many areas of the grid on this planet that are needing our energies. We are facilitators and transformers of energy. So when we consciously get together, when we do come together and meditate and, bring down light and, maybe find as a group if people know how to dowse or if they're sensitive to these energies, find these spaces that are very energetically active and go and, be there and, work there and energetically and dance and sing and, what you wanted to do. But I'm definitely looking forward to doing things like that in Barrie because, just the, like Brendan was mentioning before, the space around us is very energetically active. I almost want to call the Simcoe region and the kind of Blue Mountain region as well. It's almost like a Sedona of Ontario, as well as, there's many places up north. But there are many, vortexes and very strongly activated power points, but there are also power points that, sort of are being misdirected because I'm sure many of you out there know, and the guys who are working with the show, that many artificial structures, many man-made structures have been built in certain areas to channel those energies into, things that are not necessarily present, for the use of whoever we may seem to see as being in charge or the ones who are in charge on this planet. But, that's something that we can consciously work towards is, connecting, opening these energy points just like we open chakras, just like we allow ourselves to focus upon and bring love into, chakra points. We can get together and do this to the earth, be the facilitators and healers that we are for ourselves and the planet, and, connect those energies and amplify them and connect them to other groups and other, maybe eco-villages or sacred sites and, amplify this conscious intention of, awakening the planet.
Yeah, I think I've always been particularly interested by the idea of like ley lines and energy grids across the planet, because that's something that we do see. Like different parts of the world have like different energies associated with them. So there's definitely some interesting energies that are associated with like the area that I'm in, London, and definitely like the sort of Ontario region. One thing that's just sort of interesting, just as a little tidbit, for anybody who's ever read the book The Chrysalis, you'll know that book's like about a future sort of scenario, and there's like these kids who are developing psychic abilities, and they don't really understand what exactly is happening and stuff. Just an interesting thing about that is that the location of the story within that book actually takes place within southwestern Ontario, which is like the area that I'm in. So I mean, it's just kind of, like, why did the author choose that area in particular? So
wow.
It's just kind of something that, I mean, like, a lot of people have read that book in growing up in grade school. Even I saw a kid reading it on the bus the other day. So it's interesting that it's still around and it still has some relevancy to it. So yeah, that's the Chrysalis. It's an old book, but it's not irrelevant by any means. But
I love that book. It's amazing.
Yeah, but yeah. I mean, there's a lot we could talk about here. Michael, how do you feel we should take this?
Let's just go straight. Like I said, there's the big topic. I think that's kind of been just kind of floating around, and I think the whole stuff with the Olympics. Just the Olympics itself has brought in this whole energy of not just conspiracy, but ufology. It's brought in, government cover-up, Project Bluebeam. There's all these different things that are being discussed. And I think, in some of those we're forgetting, like, what the Olympics actually are, is this time of coming together for the purpose of coalescing and sharing in a global experience. And I think, aside from that, it's given us a chance to talk about some of these other topics. And one of the ones, that you've been, somewhat interactive with has been the UFO site. I know you just posted a link to it. I know a lot of people who tune into this show have probably seen the video. So let's just jump off into that. And these kind of things have happened, and we haven't really seen as much frequency with UFO sightings as in the past, but it's still something that's a hot topic, and I don't think it's a topic that'll ever go cold. But let's hear your thoughts out there, folks. So start posting things in the chat room. If you have questions, please post them in a private message so that Skull and I can see them on our screens. And if you do want to call in tonight, 347-326-9263. So even if you've had UFO experiences, if there's things you've experienced, anything from just sightings to abductions, let us know so we can talk about it here on the show tonight.
Or maybe if you're on a UFO right now, we want you to call in. Like, I've always wondered that, like, okay.
Or if you're an alien, call in.
Yeah,
if you're an alien,
right? Like, this whole idea with like aliens and stuff like that. I'm like, who's to say they can't use our internet? Like, who's to say there's not aliens like on Facebook who are like friends with me and I don't even know it, right? Like, that's just such a peculiar thing. And why aren't they calling into our show right now? Call in at 347-326-9263. So, but anyways, well, yeah, exactly, right? Like, we're all aliens. So.
Yeah.
So okay. Now, in terms of UFOs and Olympics, so just to sort of create a central point where we can sort of branch off this topic from, for those who may have this may have popped up in your newsfeed because a lot of people have been posting about it. There is a supposed sighting of a UFO at the Olympics during the opening ceremony when the fireworks were going off. Now, to give a bit of a backstory on this, there's been a lot of predictions sort of been laid out about what may happen at the Olympics. A lot of people are saying, like, there may be some sort of mass sighting. There may be, like, a fake staged alien sighting. There may be, like, some sort of, something horrible, like a terrorist attack or whatever, a false flag attack, what have you. But in terms of UFOs, what we have here in this is what appears to be a cylinder disc-shaped object behind the background of where the fireworks are taking place. Now, the instant speculation that is brought up is the idea of, is this a quote-unquote UFO in the sense of like a spacecraft, or is it a blimp? Because, I mean, obviously it's a UFO in the sense that it is unidentified, so to speak, right now. But there's, when I first saw it, I'm like, that's probably just a blimp, Like, I try to take the sort of skeptic side to things. Like, a lot of people, there's like, oh, but UFOs were predicted at the event, therefore I saw a video on the internet that sort of looks like a UFO, therefore this is fulfilling the prediction, and the Pleiadians are going to show up, like, tomorrow, man. Like, this is it. But, like, I don't know. Like what are your thoughts on this, Michael, from having seen the video? And for those who are in the live chat, check the and watch the video while we're talking about this, so you can sort of see for yourself.
So yeah, I did watch the video, and I did find it interesting. I do think sometimes that just with everything, we sometimes jump to these radical conclusions without first looking. And I never put anything beyond the scope, because having been in the military, I do know some of the technology we have. And if you really look at some of the Project Bluebeam stuff, because that's kind of where all this is coming from, these holographic images that can be simulated to create real effect, and there's other things that can go along with that. The fact is, though, that all this information about the Goodyear blimp coming out after the fact, and it just seems odd, that if it is a blimp now, if Goodyear is claiming that it was their blimp, it just seems, the fact that there's now a 1 billion-person audience for a blimp that's not going to show any of its markings. They're not even going to claim it as a moment to do advertising. They're going to fly this multi-million-dollar piece of flying device in the sky without any chance of advertising it. It just seems a little off. So if it isn't a UFO and it is a blimp, it just opens up more questions. And the fact that it's not showing any lighting in a controlled airspace also shows that, there's some things that need to be questioned. And I think sometimes we jump to the radical. And of course it is unidentified in the sense that we're not quite sure what it is. But then some of the footage that's coming from the supposed blimp showing another, unidentified flying object.
Let me just explain that. So we have this like crappy footage that people have like shot of their TV that shows like the supposed blimp in the background, which again, so right now, okay, just to give a list, it may be A, an actual UFO of some sort, it may be B, a government UFO of some sort, it may be a Project Bluebeam holographic projection of some sort, or it may be a blimp. So, but in terms of being a blimp, there's actually footage from the blimp. I believe this is footage like from the Goodyear blimp, and in this footage from the Goodyear blimp, there is supposedly another UFO that's sighted within this footage. That's just like a single dot that goes across the screen. So I mean,
now I didn't see in the
wherever you go, there's UFOs. Like it's.
We have an unidentified flying object recording an identified flying object that probably might have recorded another. So the thing I think too is that we sometimes forget, like in these airspaces, there are helicopters that are flying around. They are trying to get the footage. Although I didn't see, and until we have like flight plans that are actually shown to us, we're not going to be sure what the airspace was being used for. And having worked in the military, one of my jobs was to do air traffic control. And until you have an airspace plan, you're not going to know what's in the air. But the fact is that this is a global stage, and we're all directing tons of energy into this space. So I think one of the things that we're seeing a lot now, especially with this event, is we're sending a lot of not necessarily positive energy to an event that should be something that's extremely positive. And I think we're really starting to dig and look for supposed things versus, I had someone else was saying, all these Olympic athletes are pulling out of the event because of this big thing that's going to happen, this massive unfolding of the holograms, and then they're going to launch this supposed invasion from the motherships. And we haven't, and if they were going to do it, opening night would have been the best possible time. Either opening night or closing night would have been the best possible times to do it, because that's when the most attention is focused in these spaces. And we really didn't see anything as massive as Project Bluebeam was supposed to have been, And I think that's the thing, is we're feeding into this psychology that it has to be something really big, And just because something is predicted, 2012, the predictions were saying at one point December 21st. Now it's more fluid, and we know that things happen in cycles. So with this thing as well, we're jumping to the fact that it has to be some giant government conspiracy. It has to be something that is massive without scaling it back first. And I think there's a danger in that, because we're feeding into another level of illusion. And it's dangerous to feed into illusions that we're creating that take us beyond some of the reality.
Yeah, that's something that's concerning for me when I see some people who are posting online and they themselves are convinced that this is something from our star brothers and sisters, like this is something of theirs, and part of the reason why they're so adamant to take on this belief is because a part of themselves wants that confirmation that so much of the energy they've invested in something like this happening has finally been fulfilled. But I mean, for someone who's really serious about figuring out whether or not this is a UFO, if you're passionate about UFOs, you should be scrutinizing it until you cannot prove without a benefit of a doubt that it is or it isn't a UFO. So I mean, that's kind of where I'm at. I mean,
right.
If it is a legit UFO of some sort, then that's awesome. But I don't know that for sure, so therefore I'm trying to figure out what it is. But I mean,
right.
even if it is what it looks like, which looks like a giant metal UFO, like a cylinder type craft in the sky, based on my understanding, that would be more than likely it would be a government craft, because from what I understand to some degree, some of the actual extraterrestrial, ultra-terrestrial beings, their craft are more like light craft, so they may not even embody the same sort of physical properties that we associate with the standard UFOs in the past. But I mean, that doesn't, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But I mean, at the same time, those if it was trying to be discreet, it definitely it didn't do that, because it was definitely showing itself, and those things supposedly, or they do have cloaking technology, both the government and the actual UFOs. So I mean, yeah, like if it was trying to get seen, it did do a good job of it, I guess, because it ended up on the internet, and if it ends up on the internet, then everybody's going to see it. So at the very least, it's definitely opened up a conversation for this topic, and that's something that I sort of like recognize as being important, because before going into this show this week, we were talking about okay, we're going to talk about UFOs at some point. We know where it's going to happen, and then we're like, oh, UFO sighting at the Olympics. Here we go, you know. So
it opens up an interesting dialogue, and I think it's important to keep an open mind. And that's the idea with all this stuff is absolutely it could be a government conspiracy. And the things that I saw when I was in the military, I mean, the craft and things that I saw being created that I can't talk about, that, you know, it would just blow your mind. But the thing is, we have to scale back first and look at all the possibilities and put everything on the shelf and then let everything unfold until we have something that's more definable. And you have folks like Dr. Stephen Greer, you know, who are doing these UFO initiatives. And I'd love to, at some point, try to get someone from his camp on the show, because that's specifically what they do, is to try to initiate these contacts. And, you know, really, if they were going to show themselves, I think it would have been done, you know, in a more massive way. This actually did not feed into any of the Project Bluebeam scenarios. You know, the scenarios that Project Bluebeam spelled out were a lot more massive than just a showing. And, you know, if this were holographic technology, it wasn't really good holographic technology. You know, and one of the really great poet made this comment in a poem. He said, you know, if a UFO is really smart, it just make itself look like an airplane. You know, because they have that technology, they could just look like something else, and we would never know. And I think that's the key with some of the stuff we always hear about, is that they would more likely want to blend in than stand apart completely. And if they were going to make themselves known, it wouldn't just be some big poof in the sky. And it always happens at a distance, on the fringe, and we don't have anything that's concrete to link this to. I mean, there's videos you see online. There's a really great video I saw of this little alien named Bob, you know, this undercover footage from Roswell, and it was a really great video, but there's like 108 minutes of the video, and you only see like 30 seconds of it. I want to see the other 7 minutes and 30 seconds. You know, if to validate it, let's get all the stuff out there. And we're only seeing these really sketchy videos from a lot of different sources. And that's, I think, the other part of this is we're so distracted in talking about, like, we see the UFOs. And my thought is, when we're always looking in some place, there's always something else happening in the places we're not looking. You know, so we have these things that are big, massive distractions. And I think sometimes if you really think about it, the government could use the idea of these conspiracies to feed into it an aspect. Now we're all looking at the Olympics, like something big is going to happen. So what's happening behind us when we're looking at the Olympics, waiting for a UFO invasion?
Misdirection sort of thing, yeah. So I was just looking through more posts and everything like that. This could have just been, presuming maybe that was like an actual UFO or something, that could have just been like something to sort of test our reaction, sort of thing, right? And they if they understand how the internet works, they know someone would get footage of it, and now they're sort of like monitoring the comments and stuff and seeing how our reaction for it should be. But there is a post from like a Palladian channel, and Palladian's like a star brother and sisters out there, and it's talking about how like first contact is going to happen on Saturday, August 4th at the Olympics. So there's another date, there's another prediction set ahead. So I mean, that's something I guess we can we'll find out when it happens or whatever, right? But I mean, yeah, like who's to say maybe some sort of crazy spectacle thing will happen, or maybe the conspiracy is that there is no conspiracy.
You know, it's always questionable when we're told to look in certain directions, and we talk about that we have some understanding of who the Greys are, who the Palladians are, who the Zetas are, who the reptilians, and we have this idea, and there are those really ideas because we don't have any of them standing in front of us telling us, oh yeah, totally, this is who I am. So we have these ideas, and it's like when you look at deities, and we take like a deity like Shiva, and we have this image, and we've created this image, and we associate certain energies with those images. And I think we're doing the same kind of things with UFOs and aliens. And back in the earlier years, when books like Communion were coming out, and we were talking, the Steven Spielberg movies, all the I forget what they're called, but all those different movies that were coming out, kind of feeding into this dynamic of the reality. And I think that's kind of when the conversation started. And but there's been UFO sightings throughout history, throughout time. There's all this stuff in Egypt, but now it's like we're surrendering into this idea that there's going to be some massive invasion and it's going to be some global devastation. We're in this 2012 energy, and I always call this year the year of expectation, because we're expecting everything to be some giant finality, and I think we have to stop looking. What if they come here to like save us from ourselves, because we're not doing a really good job of holding things together right now, and we're looking at it as an invasion of this, like they're going to come down and kill everyone and eat us and whatever else they're going to do, and we're jumping to these radical conclusions versus sitting with something that's much more minor. And then so what? So if they do show up, then what are we going to do? So we have these discussions with no outcomes. There's no outlets for what's now. Well, okay, so great, they're here. We saw a UFO. Now what do we do with that?
I think one of the few things we can do is just prepare ourselves internally, like prepare ourselves to like how we're going to respond if and when such an event does take place. Like a lot of people like may ask, like, like, what's your prediction on 2012? What's going to happen? How do I prepare? Like, I mean, like, it's not one person to predict and say like what may or may not happen, but the only suggestion that I think is valid in all of the possible outcomes is the idea that like in order to prepare, like, prepare yourself internally. Prepare how you are willing and ready to respond to the events that are going to unfold around you. So,
right.
But that said, should we get in this meditation? Because I think this meditation is actually going to be an important one. And I think I've seen this come up in the chat, but I think this meditation we should definitely direct it towards the Olympics and towards just like sending like positive energy towards the Olympics. Because I mean the Olympics, like it's as much as it may be like a big thing with a lot of money and behind it and stuff, like it is like this whole thing about like the world coming together in unity. And some people will say like, oh well, despite the fact that we're competing against each other and it's like identifying different nations against one another, like whatever, like it's still something where it's a chance for us to make it into what we choose to make it. So if we want it to be love and light, then let's work on that by like sending that meditation and that energy towards that. So I think as we're getting into this, guys, just get yourself comfortable, and we'll, for those who haven't listened before, we're just going to do we'll do like, I'd say just like 3-4 minute meditation. We'll sort of make it quick because I think we got a little bit more UFO discussion to go on about, but
we'll do
what's up here, Michael?
Yeah, we'll do the 396 clip because I think that was a good one. I really liked that one. So we'll just do that. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut our mic. I'm gonna lead us right into it. I'm gonna cut my mic, and then we'll just sit in meditation for this one lasts about 4 minutes. So we'll just roll about 4 minutes in, sit with it, and allow yourself just to tune into the vibration. So begin to focus on that breath. Focus deeply on the in-breath, the out-breath, creating space for the experience to move through you. Begin allowing your awareness to drop down, down, down into the body, allowing yourself to connect in fully to the vibration. As we now send out energy, we send out light, we send out connection to all those who are in need, but specifically, we send this vibration out to the Olympics so that we may enjoy it for the purpose that it was created for. Breathe in and breathe out. So begin allowing yourself to come slowly back into the body, realigning yourself with your breath. Each inhalation and exhalation, bringing peace and centeredness. As you breathe, bring your awareness slowly back to the room around you, back to the tactile reality that is your experience. Slowly coming back to the world around you, breathing, centering, and maintaining a connection to this energy as now we re-engage our paradigm shift radio experience. And so it is, and there we go. Welcome back, everybody, from the ninth dimension. I went all the way to the ninth. I get bored with the fifth because everyone goes there. Now everyone goes to the fifth dimension. It's kind of like, everyone's there now.
It's like a club or something,
It's like a tongue ring. Everyone has
used to be cool, but now everyone else knows about it. So I gotta go to a new club.
Exactly. So the cool thing about meditations, folks, is when you do when you do a show download, put it on your iPod, take it, listen to it, share it, because you can always go back to the moment of, that energy, and it imprints itself on the recording. So, you can go back into that space of reconnection. So allow yourself to have that.
Mm-hmm. I always like to visualize when we're doing that, and visualize this with me, guys. Like the idea that, like, picture a globe, and then picture a single dot where each one of you are listening from, and then like draw lines between those dots, and like let those dots sort of like create a grid of their own, like connecting around the entire world, and like that grid, like that's real. Like that's actually real, that connection that we're sharing right now. So I think that's just a really cool, like, visualization to accompany, like, what we're actually doing here. So, for sure.
Yeah, I think some people had some interesting experiences in the chat.
Yeah, your experiences in the chat, guys. So, some people went to the 1,876th dimension. Wow, that's far, man.
Yeah. Give me some directions. I want to go there next.
Like that in 20, yeah. But yeah, I think just to state the obvious, Jordan, I think he had to charge his phone, but he's obviously not on the line with us right now, right?
Oh yeah, he's gone.
Right. Okay. But thank you, Jordan, for being on the show
absolutely.
with us. I know you do have some of your own UFO stories to tell. You've told me before how you've seen some light ships, some unidentified, like, orbs of light, like, up in the Barrie area. So now I'm just looking, and we try to keep these shows to the 90-minute when we don't have a guest, almost for the sense of conciseness and just to really, like, keep things moving along. Right. So 15 minutes left. How do we want to do this? Because I got my own UFO short story that we can share. If
let's hear that. Let's hear that UFO story. I've been interested since you mentioned it. Yeah. Let's hear it.
Okay. So I'll tell mine, and then Jordan, call back into the show to join us for like the last 10 minutes of the show, because we got about 15 minutes. So I'm going to just explain this really quickly. So here's my UFO experience, guys. So UFOs were something that, like a lot of you, I've always been interested in, but until I saw one for myself, like, it wasn't actually something that was like in my reality until I actually saw one for myself. Now I'll just paint the picture for you and tell you exactly what happened. Basically, I was at the college, Fanshawe College, which is in London, Ontario, and it was me and my girlfriend at the time, and we were lying on a hill, and we were just hanging out there, just like lying and watching the stars sort of thing and chit-chatting, and there was an electrical storm that night. There was a lot of lightning activity off in the distance, and somewhat above us, but it wasn't raining peculiarly. There was, like, no rain, but there was a lot of electrical activity. And then while we were lying there, this was actually almost a year ago to this date. I know it was about a week after my birthday, so it would have been about like July 20-something-ish, 2011, that this happened. And while we were lying on the grass, basically what I saw as we were looking straight up into the sky was a triangle UFO, but it's not a single, but I can't say for certain if it was a single UFO, but basically 3 lights decloaked right above where we were looking, and both of us saw this. Both of us, like, blatantly saw this. So 3 lights basically appeared at about my 2 o'clock, if I'm looking right up into the sky, so just a little bit to my right. 3 lights, like, decloaked, that's the best way I can describe it, and then moved across to the left, and we watched it fly off into the distance for about 6 or 7 seconds, so we definitely had enough time to see it. Now, again, I can't say for certain if this was, like, like three corners of a single craft, or if this was three individual like balls of light that were flying in a craft formation. But this was no more than like 100 meters, maybe like 150 meters above us, or less than that. Like, it was very close. And one of the things that was really interesting that caught my attention was the bottom light on the triangle. When it decloaked, it like glitched out. The top two lights just sort of like turned on as if it was just a regular light, and they were just solid, and all of them were moving in unison with each other. But the bottom light, when it decloaked, it looked like a glitch in a video game. Like, that's the best way I can describe it, and I've never seen anything else like that in terms of like reality and stuff, aside from a few hyperdimensional experiences. But yeah, like the light itself, like it was like glitching out, like a graphical error, and it wasn't solid. So that was just like an interesting tidbit of what happened. And then this thing, it didn't really make any noise, but it just went off into the other direction. So right away from this, I think there are government UFO type craft, and one of the things that could have been was a TRB-3 or TRB-3, I think it's called, which is like an experiment governmental triangle-shaped craft. You can Google images about its like prototype design and stuff like that. But whether or not that's what it is, I don't exactly know, because like I said, this could have been like a single triangle-shaped craft, or it could have been three individual light crafts that were flying in a triangle formation, which wouldn't really be something that would be a surprise to me. Like the idea that, like, say there's like three, and each of one of those lights could not necessarily be a craft, but it could be like a separate entity. Like each one of those like single lights like could have been like a Merkaba to some degree, and the Merkaba is like the star tetrahedron light body vehicle. We'll get more into detail about that another time, but yeah, like those three lights were like moving in perfect triangle formation, and watch it go off into the distance. And one of the things that came to my mind was like, all right, okay, first of all, what the heck was that? But then second of all, where was it coming from and where was it going? Was like one of my big questions. Cause I'm like, all right, and then that got me thinking up into this whole idea of like, well, you know, like maybe there's like bases, like sky cities that are invisible that we can't see, that these like ships are coming from. So I mean, there's a whole bunch of questions that are still unanswered, but I did have that experience, and I can't deny that experience. So I mean, it wasn't just your standard one single light in the sky flying away, but it was definitely super visceral, not something I like intended to come across. Like the fact that it happened right above where we were lying down, like leads me to, in some way, I'm like, all right, okay, like were they showing themselves to me? Like, was I supposed to see this? Like, was I supposed to be there that day, and that like synchronistic reasoning, right, so I could like share this story here today and not simply talk about UFOs as if they're just like something I see on YouTube, but having actually experienced one for myself, I can now say that like, yes, they are real. So there's more than one type of UFO though, and I think that's where we should get Jordan to share his story about some of the lights that he's seen up in the sky. So
I think, you know, that's with the idea, and I've had, you know, when I went to a conference recently, you know, a couple of years back, one of the focuses that one of our teachers has been talking about a lot is that we are going to have more visitations this year than ever before. And you know, I've had experiences. I've seen UFOs, and I've had those experiences where I've seen lights in the sky. I've heard the buzzing. I've even seen, you know, people who have had their eyes will flip back and forth. I mean, so I've had like interactions with people that have, you know, just given me these moments where I get to see through their outer persona, and sometimes we hold souls within us that may not be for this dimensional energy. So there are even aspects of us that can come in, and not going into Scientology or anything, but we do hold those different energies within us. And there are some people who, you know, they call the star children, who aren't the indigos, but they are from those extraterrestrial realms. And after this conference, I came back, and I was, you know, kind of in this space. And she said we'd have visitations. I'm like, yeah, you know, that'd be kind of neat. And I was kind of in a meditative space, and I was sitting right next to the porch, and all of a sudden I hear something walking up the porch. And where we live, there is only one way on and one way off the porch, and something stopped right at the window. So of course now I'm in this meditative space, and it starts to kind of freak me out. The dogs my mom has comes running. They come running. They're chihuahuas, so they're like viciously loud. And as soon as they get to the door, they all start shrieking and backing away from the door, and then go running back down the hall. So that was pretty freaky in itself. And as I looked out the window, I could just see a silhouette and it didn't look like it was human, and it walked around the corner, and then it was gone. So that was my one visitation experience. And I didn't necessarily want to have a repeat, and I really didn't want to have it get any closer than that, just because, I think the other part of these visitation stories and ideas is I just don't think, having the direct experience, we're exposed to it through media, but I think having the direct experience would be something that would be so hard for our brains to actually wrap itself around. We talk about ghosts, we talk about, interdimensional experiences with, our guides or angels or whatever else, but I think to actually see something as tactile as an extraterrestrial being standing in front of you, to be able to reach out and touch that being in third-dimensional space may be unsettling to some part of our psyche. We see these groups that, like Dr. Greer hosts these, I guess he calls them ambassador trainings, where he trains people to go into that space to connect. I just think it's just so hard for our brains to wrap itself around anything beyond these ships and the ship visitations that we're not quite there yet. I don't know what I mean, having done this work for so long, I don't even know what I would do if I actually saw a little gray walking up the hallway after the show. It would be unsettling.
Unless he was like Paul out of the movie Paul with the guys from Shaun of the Dead and stuff, like that guy. I wish the aliens were like that. That'd be awesome. So. But yeah, like
what they're like.
Yeah,
so you
don't know. And I think, and I think this is just something I lean towards, but like the idea of quote unquote aliens and stuff, I mean, like I would imagine that the aliens and the other races and stuff would actually look very much humanoid. Like who's to say that like the humanoid design, or not even like, I don't want to use the word design, but like the template for it, the blueprint for it is like something that is like innate within consciousness itself, and it's something that like will like appear on a planet where there is life over time, like given the right circumstances. Like it's not something that's just unique to Earth. The fact that it showed up on Earth is like not a coincidence. Like it's almost like it was intended to be here because like what's happened with this physical body like in the past has existed in other parts of the galaxy. Like this is kind of like the standard vehicle for consciousness to experience itself like at the type of level that we are at, and to go even further beyond that. So
right. And it really is interesting because we're gonna have more of these experiences. But I think too, one of the reasons we are seeing so much in the media is, one of my teachers says that first we have to be, there's some universal law that says at some level we have to be exposed to things that are coming. So we have these shows and these movies that are showing possibilities. And it starts to desensitize us, but in some ways it prepares us. So if some big thing did show up in the sky, and this is why it'd be so hard, really, for the government to pull something like this off, because we would say, "Oh yeah," our first thought, we were prepared for this. We're able to access and accept a big ship in the sky. That wouldn't be as intimidating or frightening as a bunch of actual grays marching down into the center of the Olympic Stadium and like, well, we want to participate also, or something crazy like that happening.
They just like dominate in the high jump events and stuff. I could see that. That'd be awesome. I'd watch that. I'd watch the Olympics.
I would totally watch every one of the Olympics at that point. Because right now I'm not really tuned in, but I would totally watch it, the Palladians versus the Grays.
Yeah, the intergalactic Olympics, I think so. But I mean, who's to say? I mean, again, like I want to know, like if these like aliens and stuff are like on our internet and watching our TV and stuff. Like I love that idea. It's just hilarious. And if they're listening to this show right now, then big shout out to all our like alien friends who are listening to this. So if you're in the live chat, let us know. But anyways, I know Jordan is trying to call into the show right now. And we only have 4 minutes. So is he? Tell me, is he in the queue? Like he's trying to call him. His phone is not like cooperating.
Alien, they're blocking him. Yeah.
Well, it may just, we'll just save the story for another day, because I mean, this isn't the last time we're going to be talking about
this is a big topic.
this is a big topic, guys, and this is something that's going to be ongoing, and there's going to be ongoing relevancy because like there's more and more UFO sightings like every single week. And there was an interesting article in the Toronto Star just a few days ago, and it was talking about like how Canada has had like so many UFO sightings, and the majority of them have been within Ontario. So it's there's a lot of there's a few of my buddies who've seen other sightings themselves, like definitely within like the southwestern Ontario area, like between like I know Lake Erie, like Erie, Windsor, Guelph area. There's quite a few sightings there. So just out of curiosity, if anybody's in the chat from those areas, let us know. But we'll definitely make room for more chances for you guys to share your UFO stories in the future, because I don't think Jordan's going to be able to get on for this one. So that said, we only have 3 minutes and counting left in the show. Mike, what do you want to wrap this up with?
Yeah, so just a couple quick things. The show is, we have lots of other shows on the channel. The next show that we have coming up is The Psychic and the Witch on Monday night, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to have myself and my partner, David Salisbury. We're going to be interviewing a warlock from Salem, Massachusetts, Christian Day, who just came out with a new book on spirit communication. On Wednesday, I just got confirmation from Phoenix Smith, who's actually my very first guest on this show. It's going to be an early morning Wednesday show because he's in the Philippines right now. So it's going to be 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Wednesday, August 1st. So those are the next two upcoming shows. And then Tuesday I have a show at 11 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, myself and Miss Ronnie, who's just a hoot. Quite different than this show, but she's very proactive in helping people get from point A to point B, and she does it very interesting way. So tune into all the shows. Click the like button. If you haven't clicked the follow us button yet, please click it, share it, get out there and get people tuning into the show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what was I going to say? Yeah, there's just a few things. If you have any suggestions on maybe people who you would like to see on the show as guests, let us know. Send us a message to the Paradigm Shift Facebook page, so facebook.com/ParadigmShiftRadio, and let us know. We would love to get people like Bashar, Daryl, and Anaka. Sorry, I forget his last name. But to get him on the show, that would be awesome. And for those who may know who Grant Morrison is, I'm working on getting him on the show. So, there's so many people. There's no limit to the amount of people who we can have on the show, and that includes you guys, the listeners, because just because these people are people who people know about on the internet, it doesn't make their story any more important than the ones that you guys have to share. So, again, we want to remind you to come in and share your stories when the opportunity arises, because we're going to be doing this indefinitely, and every week, every Saturday, 11 p.m. EST. Join us, join the chat, like the Facebook page. If you'd like to donate, go to ParadigmShiftCentral.com/donate. Much appreciated, and those funds are going to go towards helping the ongoing expansion and evolution of mankind. So, and the show's almost about to wrap up.
Check out Joel's page on science. So support the show, support all the things that support the show, and again, as always, we thank you all for making the show what it is. You are all wonderful. We'll see you next time.
Namaste, guys.
Hey.